Yes.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues and dear students. Today is a special day for us. Let me introduce you to our guest from Japan, Mr. Masahito Sakamoto. We are very happy that he came to us today. Please accept our sincere gratitude. Mr. Sakamoto supports Ukraine and Ukrainian art. He is a collector, researcher, and essayist. He donated a collection of ex-libris by Ukrainian artists to our university. These are plates that were created after the 24th of February 2022. Tomorrow will be the tragic date again. 4 years of war have passed, but we know that goodness and beauty will prevail. That's why we are here and are going to listen to Mr. Sakamoto's lecture about the Japanese writer Akutagawa and the Ukrainian translation of his story, The Spider's Thread. I would also like to introduce the famous Ukrainian artist Serhiy Yaroshenko, who drew illustrations for Akutagawa's work. We are very glad that you are here, dear Serhiy Mykolaievich. Thank you for your time. We will be interested to hear your opinion about Akutagawa and your drawings. Today, Japanese, English, and Ukrainian will be spoken. And this is symbolic because art and languages unite the people and world. Добрий день, шановні колеги, студенти. Сьогодні у нас особливий день. Дозвольте представити вам нашого дорогого гостя із Японії, містера Масахіто Сакамото. Ми щасливі, що він прийшов до нас сьогодні. Будь ласка, прийміть нашу щиру вдячність. Містер Сакамото підтримує Україну, українське мистецтво. Він є колекціонером, дослідником, есеїстом. Він подарував нашому університету колекцію екслібрісів українських художників. Це екслібріси, які були створені після 24 лютого 2022 року. Завтра буде знов ця трагічна дата. Минають 4 роки війни. Але ми з вами знаємо, що добро і краса переможуть. Тому ми з вами тут і збираємося слухати лекцію містера Сакамото про японського письменника Акутагаву та український переклад його оповідання «Павутинка». Також я представляю відомого художника Серхія Ярошенка, який намалював ілюстрації до твору Акутагави. Ми дуже раді, що Серхій Миколайович з нами. Нам буде дуже цікаво послухати вашу думку щодо Акутагави і ваших малюнків. Сьогодні будуть звучати японська, англійська і українська мови. І це символічно, адже мистецтво і мови єднають світ. And now I would like to give the floor the Dean of Ukrainian Philology and Journalist faculty, Оксана Киричук. Будь ласка, Оксана Борисівна.
Дякую, шановні колеги, шановні студенти, шановні гості, хто сьогодні присутній на нашій зустрічі. Щире вітання вам від нашого колективу, викладачів і студентів факультету української філології та журналістики. І сьогодні дуже приємно, що саме у нашій аудиторії зібралися ті люди, які не байдужі до українського народу, української нації і, звичайно, українського мистецтва. Катю, я буду робити паузу, та ви будете викладати нашим гостям.
Yes, dear colleagues, dear students, dear guests, sincere greetings to you from our Faculty of Ukrainian Philology and Journalism. It is a great honor that today we can greet you all in this wonderful room, in this museum, Gogol and Ukraine, because you are partial to the Ukrainian nation and Ukrainian culture and art.
Мені сьогодні з великою приємністю хочеться подякувати нашим колегам із Японії за нашу багаторічну вже співпрацю, глибоку співпрацю. І сьогодні я дякую вам, шановний пане професоре Масахіто Сакамото, за те, що ви знайшли час, за те, що ви виявляєте глибокий інтерес саме до вивчення того виду мистецтва, про який ви сьогодні будете нам розповідати.
I would like to thank our colleagues from Japan for our long-term collaboration, and I would like to especially thank Mr. Sakamoto-san for his time and for his deep interest in Ukrainian art.
Дякую сьогодні також нашим гостям. Сергій Миколайович, дякую. Дуже приємно бачити вас сьогодні з нами в гостях. Сьогодні пані Анна зі Львова. Тобто сьогодні такий в нас телеміст про нашу роботу, нашу спільну мрію, нашу спільну діяльність, яку ми проводимо і організуємо з нашими студентами. І я дякую також сьогодні знову ж таки пану професору Масахіто Сакамото за те, що саме в цій чудовій аудиторії і наші студенти, і викладачі, і гості факультету мають можливість спостерігати, бачити чудову колекцію, яку подарував саме нам наші колеги із Японії. І, Сергій Миколайович, чудові ваші роботи ми також бачимо саме в цій аудиторії. Тому низький уклін і велика вам дяка.
I would like to thank our esteemed guests, the artist Serhiy Yaroshenko and Anna Wojtyuk. We are thankful to you for being together with us and with our students, and we are grateful to Mr. Sakamoto-san for his generous gift for the collection of Ex Libris, and we are looking forward to hearing your lecture.
Дякую.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana Borisivna. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Sakamoto. He will give us a lecture about the Japanese writer Akutagawa and his work, The Spider's Thread. First-year student Ivan Hnilosir will read the Ukrainian text. Please, Mr. Sakamoto, and please, Ivan.
Hello everyone, it's so nice to see you all. Tomorrow marks the first anniversary of the total invasion. I'm deeply sorry for what you...
Just a moment, Mr. Sakamoto. Ivan will say some words.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sakamoto. My name is Ivan, and I am the first-year student, and I would like to help you today a little. I will read the Ukrainian text by Akutagawa. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall I start? Hello everyone, it's so nice to see you all. Tomorrow marks the first anniversary of the total invasion. I'm deeply sorry for what you have experienced. I admire your resilience and strength. I'd like to thank Professor Nikolenko for giving me this wonderful opportunity to give a lecture about Akutagawa's famous short story, The Spider Thread. I am also grateful to Mr. Serhiy Yaroshenko for creating excellent drawings for us. Especially, I like this drawing on the cover page that Candida is ascending the thread. Although he is a bandit, this drawing reminds me of a diligent man who puts in effort every day. The purpose of today's lecture is to read together, think together. I point out what caught my attention as prompts for discussions, but I would like you to form your own conclusions. Although I share my interpretations, they are only opinions, and your views are equally valid. In fact, younger students often offer especially sharp insights because they are free from preconceptions. While I do not hold a degree in literature, I can read Akutagawa's works and scholarly studies in the original Japanese, which is essential for literary analysis. I also have experience in the translation and have seen how nuances can shift in the process. Drawing on this background, I hope to offer some useful insights and help you to gain a deeper understanding of the spider thread. Now, please let me introduce myself. I work full-time as an immigration attorney, gyosei, and I also work as a freelance translator and write essays on art. I hold a bachelor's and master's degrees in economics and law degrees in US law and Japanese law. Though I'm not a huge fan as a Japanese, I like cartoons and animes. In the last month, I went to theater to watch Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba movie and Infinity Castle. If you have any anime recommendations, please let me know in the chat box. This is a list of my many works. And this is a sequel of the list of my works. In 2023, I organized an exhibition of Ukrainian slaves in Ginza, one of Tokyo's most vibrant and sophisticated districts. It attracted many people, and they loved the exhibits. Last year, Professor Nikolenko kindly gave me the opportunity to hold an exhibition featuring my Ukrainian book plates. She also published my book about the exhibition. I'm profoundly grateful to her for making them possible. Now, let's start discussing Rюноске, Akutaga, and the spider thread. Akutaga is a short story writer who represents 20th century Japan. This textbook, this textbook is very well organized and excellent accounts of provides a well organized and excellent accounts of him and of the spider thread, including the question sections. Akutaga read a great many Japanese and Chinese classics, as well as Western classics and contemporary novels, and he was particularly skilled at creating new stories by drawing on such materials. His early representative works, such as Sweet Yam Soup and The Nose, are based on Japanese classical literature. Yet, it has been pointed out that they were also influenced by Gogol's The Overcoat and The Nose. For example, the portrayal of the protagonist in Sweet Yam Soup is very similar to that of the protagonist in The Overcoat. The spider thread was published in 1918 in the inaugural issue of the magazine Akaitori, Redbird. This magazine came to occupy a very important place in modern Japanese children's literature. The publisher, Meikichi Suzuki, regarded the spider thread very highly, and it is included in textbook for 5th grade elementary school students in Japan even now. It is recognized as a well-established work. Therefore, many people may assume that this work offers clarity and sound moral teaching to its readers. But can we say this assumption is correct? Let's examine the actual text.
Одного дня самотній Будда з нічев'я походжав берегом озера лотосів.
Part 1 begins with a depiction of paradise. Whether it's lotus-like, paradise appears to be a beautiful and peaceful place. I encourage you to research Buddha and his cultural representations on your own. Buddha is one of the greatest religious leaders in human history, and his cultural image is generally very positive. For example, in Japan, the expression a Buddha-like person is used to describe a kind, warm-hearted, and compassionate man who rarely gets angry. Though this point be somewhat unclear in translation, Akutagawa consistently uses honorific language when referring Buddha, portraying him as a noble and a venerable being. One might even say the embodiment of perfect morality and truth. As a brief digression, my knowledge of Buddhism is limited. I may in fact be more familiar with Christian doctrine than Buddhism. I grew up in the environment of a Catholic elementary school. The school's auditorium was named after the Polish saint Maximilian Kolbe, who had close ties to Japan. I can still recite the Lord's Prayer and Hail Mary from memory. But to be frank, when I reread The Spider Thread for the first time in several decades, I was almost shocked by this very first sentence. The expression Zunichiver is simply strange. In the original Japanese, Akutagawa uses the onomatopoetic expression blah blah. The meaning of blah blah is idly, leisurely, meaninglessly, without any particular purpose. The phrase is typically used to describe someone like the boy in the illustrations. This boy will appear again in my later slides, and I would like to call him Maxic. Blah blah can also be used to describe an adult who, despite being of working age, is not employed and lazy. So this expression carries almost no positive connotations and is completely inappropriate for an exalted being such as Buddha. As I said, Akutagawa consistently uses the honorific language when referring to Buddha. Why then did he use wording that disrupt the noble and venerable image of Buddha right from the opening? Can you imagine a depiction in the Bible in which Jesus Christ is walking meaninglessly? Or when it comes to animes, can you imagine characters such as Naruto or Narufi is dressed formally and act like a gentleman? Such depictions are contradictory and undermine the consistency of the character's image. So I'd like to feel uncomfortable with the word Junichiba. Let us also keep in mind that this short read has a narrator, and that the narrator is speaking about the events as past occurrences. Many modern novels employ this kind of narrative approach, and Akutagawa followed this conventional, straightforward method. This narrator girl will appear later. Let's call her Mauricia.
Білосніжні, як перли, квіти на воді, із своїх золотистих тичинок ненастанно ширили навкруги невимовно приємні пахощі.
Lotuses grow in muddy, murky places, yet their leaves rise above the water and bloom in the air. Because of this, they have come to be associated with the idea of a noble spirit unstained by baseness, and they are revered in Buddhism and Hinduism. Many Buddhist literature objects use this lotus as a motif.
У раю був ранок. Будда пройшов понад озером, потім став і крізь листя лотосів, що вкривало поверхню води, подивився вниз. Під озером було пекло, а тому крізь прозору, як кришталь товщу води, наче в стереоскопі ясно прозирала ріка Сандзунокава і Шпиляста гора.
Oh, Buddha appears to possess the ability to see through everything. While the translator uses the word stereoscope, the original term refers to a rarely shown device. They may be considered the ancestors of today's virtual reality goggles. The river Sanzunokawa is not hell itself, but rather the river that separates this world from the next, somewhat like the river Styx or river Ekron in Greek mythology. The Mountain of Needles, which will appear again later, is one of the torture of hell.
Погляд Будди привернув чоловік на ім'я Кандата, що разом з іншими грішниками яких аж кишіло, мучився в пеклі. Той кандата – великий лиходій, за життя вбивав людей, підпалював їхні оселі і чинив чимало інших злочинів.
Kandata is described as a notorious bandit who committed murder, arson, and many other evil deeds during his lifetime, a completely wicked figure. It is very unlikely that he is the kind of person without any basic moral sense of morals. Someone who would turn violent just because his shoulder brushed against someone on the street, threaten a lone passenger at night with a knife, or to burglarize a house that looks vacant. One could call him a consummate villain. It is natural to wonder why Kandata committed so many different crimes in the first place. Please take a moment to imagine. From this perspective, we might also consider that under certain circumstances, even ordinary people could commit violent crimes. Therefore, Kandata's evil may not be something unique to villains, but rather something that all human beings possess or to some degree. However, since people who commit crimes on Kandata's scales are extremely rare, it may be better not to view him simply as a representation of the darker side of humanity. What do you think?
А добро зробив лише один раз. Якось мандруючи густим лісом, він побачив, як через стежку повзе павучок. Кандата підняв було вже ногу, готуючись його роздушити, та враз передумав. Ні, не треба. Воно хоч і мале, але теж, напевне, хоче жити. Тож шкода безпричинно вкорочувати йому віку.
Judging from how the story differs later, this is probably a point where opinions will differ. Acts of this sort are something most people do, but can they really be called good deeds? Kandata did not save a dying spider. He merely refrained from killing it. Moreover, why did he stop himself from killing it? Was this not simply a momentary whim? Even if Kandata has sincerely reflected on his own actions, would the mere act of not killing a spider be sufficient reason to invite such an evil person into paradise? Many Ukrainians may feel a sense of fear or disgust toward spiders because of their appearance and their ferocity in wrapping prey in silk and devouring it. The same is true in Japan, where there are several legends in which monster spiders appear and are slain by heroes. However, influenced by Chinese traditions, there has also long existed a view of spiders as auspicious creatures. Since they prey on harmful insects, they are also beneficial to humans. As a result, there is a widespread saying in Japan, a spider seen in the morning is a good omen. A spider seen in the night at night is a bad omen. This reflects the idea that spiders possess both good and evil aspects.
Споглядаючи пекло, Будда згадав, як Кандата врятував життя павукові, і вирішив віддячити йому за добро, принаймні допомогти вибратися з пекла.
So Buddha had the ability to remember even such seemingly trivial matters. But there are many questions. Why did Buddha decide to save Kandata? Why did Buddha pay attention to him in particular? Did Buddha have a sufficient reason to invite him into paradise? Please think about these questions. The phrase, if possible, plena holi, implies that there is a possibility that Kandata cannot be saved. And Buddha himself is aware of this. Seen in the context of the whole story, this point may be somewhat ambiguous and open to interpretation. A common sense reading would be that no matter how omnipotent and compassionate Buddha may be, he will not save someone unless that person makes an effort or undergoes a change of heart. Please note that Orisha speaks here in a definitive tone when depicting Buddha's inner thoughts. She does not speak in a conjectural tone. I'll return to this point later. Some of you might think that I'm too picky, but I believe such points can also be applied to animes or other arts. If you read interviews or articles where Hayao Miyazaki talks about his works, you will see that he creates every single element with intention. Each scene, every line of dialogue, the smallest gesture, the setting, the angles of the drawings, etc., all carry meanings. Miyazaki is so skillful that viewers can simply watch casually on the surface and still enjoy the film. But it becomes even more interesting when you watch it thoughtfully. I think it will be fun to watch Miyazaki's films and discuss things together, like why did he choose to draw this scene from behind the protagonist instead of showing her face?
На щастя, поблизу над зеленим, як малахит листям лотосу, райський павук плів свою чарівну сріблясту нитку.
The expression, fortunately, not gesture, suggests that Buddha was not acting according to a carefully laid out plan. How deeply, then, did he actually think through his actions? In the translation, the lotus leaves are compared to malachite, but in the original text, they are likened to jade. Presumably, the translator chose to make this change out of consideration that malachite would be more familiar to Ukrainian readers than jade. I encourage you to look into the connotations of green gemstones such as jade, malachite, emerald, etc., and to think about why Akutaga himself chose jade as a metaphor for a beautiful green color. It may seem strange that spiders in paradise, but since the beauty of its thread is repeatedly emphasized, Akutaga may be viewing the spider as a creator of beauty, that is, an artist.
Взяв павутинку і мимо сніжно-білих, як перлина квітів, швидко спустив її далеко-далеко вниз, до самого пекла.
A spider thread hardly seems strong enough, so what is Buddha planning to do by lowering it into hell? What will happen? With these questions in our minds, this first part comes to an end.
Там, на дні пекла, у кривавому озері порсався кандата. Хоч куди глянь, а всюди пітьма кромішня. І тільки коли-неколи в тій темряві зблисне вістря шпилястої гори.
Whereas part 1 depicted paradise, part 2 turns to a depiction of hell. The pool of blood, together with the mountain of needles, is one of the tortures of hell. Hell is indeed a terrifying place.
А якось ненароком він звів очі вгору. З далекого неба над кривавим озером у пітьмі, немов боячись людського ока, повисла блискуча сріблиста павутинка. Уздрівши над головою павутинку, кандата на радощах аж сплеснув у долоні. Учепившись за неї, напевне, можна далеко полізти, навіть з пекла вибратися.
The phrase, as if it feared at drawing attention to itself, nemov bachis oka, is worth noting. Did Buddha lower the thread so that only Kandata would notice it? How much of this was actually intended by Buddha? Moreover, despite supposedly as if it feared drawing attention to itself, the thread is described as a silver spider thread. Sleeplista Pavutинka. It is clearly beautiful, but would that not attract attention?
Якщо все піде на лад, то і в раю можна опинитися, а тоді вже не доведеться страждати на шпилястій горі і потопати в кривавому озері.
Candida is glad because he believes he may be able to escape from hell and perhaps even reach paradise. However, it is somewhat surprising how quickly he leaps from seeing the spider thread to imagining escape from hell, even entry into paradise. Does someone as total evil as Candida truly have the right to go to paradise? He seems to take the idea rather lightly. Is this audacity simply part of his nature as a villain?
Так розмірковуючи, кандата мерщій учепився обома руками за павутинку і відчайдушно почав тертися вгору. Ясна річ, такому лиходіїв, як кандата, до цього не треба було звикати.
The image of trying to escape from hell by climbing a spider thread is highly pictorial, almost like something out of an adventure novel or anime, and strikingly vivid. The narrative connects smoothly here. As a thief, Candida would often have sneaked into houses, so actions such as climbing ropes would have come easily to him.
Та хоч як він силкувався, а до гори піднятися було нелегко. Рай і пекло відділяла не 1000 рій. Зіп'явшись трохи, кандата втомився і навіть не міг був рукою поворухнути. Що ж тут удієш? Вирішивши перепочити, кандата повис на павутинці і зиркнув униз.
If the distance is so vast, does Candida actually have any chance of reaching paradise? And does he understand this himself? Furthermore, to what extent did Buddha foresee this outcome when he lowered the spider thread?
А все-таки його зусилля не пропали марно. Криваве озеро, що в ньому він потопав, за такий короткий час зникло в пітьмі, а страшна своїм тьмяним блиском шпиляста гора вже опинилася під ногами.
Candida becomes tired while climbing, stops to rest, and looks down below. The development of the story is natural and quite engaging. At this point, readers are likely to relive the sensation of climbing a mountain.
Якщо так і далі, то скоро із пекла, напевно, видобудусь. Обхопивши руками павутинку, кандата зраділим, як ніколи, голосом прокричав: «Наша взяла! Наша взяла!»
Please see Mexic on the slide. The original words of Nasha Vzela are Shimeta, Shimeta. Shimeta has a slighter nuance than I did it. This expression is used when something works out conveniently, which often applies to situations in which someone with a dishonest scheme succeeds. Here, it seems that Candida is not simply pleased with the results of his own efforts. He thinks that he is getting out of hell by dishonest means. We can also sense Candida's smug attitude that he alone escaped. He does not understand Buddha's intent at all.
Раз він схаменувся, слідом за ним, як мурашня, по павутинці вгору п'ялася ціла селена грішників. Треба негайно щось придумати, інакше павутинка увірветься. І кандата щосили закричав: «Гей, грішники! Це моя павутинка! Хто вам дозволив чіплятися за неї? Ану, спускайтеся вниз!»
Candida's words here sound as if he has completely forgotten that he himself is a thief. These words are shameless or deeply ironic. Did Candida have the right to claim the spider thread as his own? That said, In a situation where an immediate action seems necessary to prevent the thread from breaking, is it fair to condemn him outright for speaking this way? He does not kick the other sinners off. He merely shouts at them. The spider thread breaks shortly afterward. It may suggest that it's not Kanda's outward actions, but rather his inner state of mind that is being judged.
Але тої ж миті павутинка зненацька розірвалася саме над Кандатою, і він, закрутившись цикою, швидко зник в темряві. В імлистому просторі, виблискуючи, лише висіла тоненька райська павутинка.
At the very moment Candida shouted at the other sinners, the spider thread, which had held firm until then, snaps and he falls back into the depths of hell. It is truly dramatic, and the story effectively depicts the spider thread still hanging down beautifully after his fall. This is another point open to different interpretations. A common sense reading would be that the thread breaks as a punishment for Canda's selfishness to save only himself. During his lifetime, Candida committed numerous crimes, and even now, he shows no signs of repentance. But there's a question. Was the breaking of the thread Buddha's will or simply be accidental?
Стоячи на березі озера лотосів, Будда від початку і до кінця стежив за цією сценою. А як Кандата каменем упав у криваве озеро, обличчя Будди посмутніло, і він пустився йти далі.
In part 3, we return once again to paradise. The overall structure, paradise, moving to hell, back to paradise, is excellent. I believe that the 43rd and 44th sentences are the most difficult part of the story. Why did Candida feel sad? Why did Buddha feel sad? As we see in the sentence that follows, Buddha seems to feel sad at the fact that Candida, thinking only of himself, received the punishment for his mindset and fell back into the original hell. After that, Buddha goes away. In the Ukrainian translation, the final phrase reads iti dali, but in the original text, just as in part 1, Akutagawa uses the expression blah blah. Here, the nuance appears to have changed in translation. The original text even gives an impression that the Buddha helped Candida marry out of passing wind. But I will discuss this later.
Мабуть, жалюгідним здався йому Кандата, який намагався тільки сам вилізти з пекла, але був заслужено покараний за своє черстве серце і знову опинився в безодні.
Here, Candida receives a punishment for his heart and falls back into hell. From Buddha's perspective, Candida is regarded as a miserable and contemptible being. But why does Orisha speak in a conjectural tone here? She spoke in a definitive tone in part 1. What do you think? One possible interpretation is that because Buddha is a noble being, she cannot truly fathom his intentions. However, it may imply that she would not criticize him even if his action was not suitable. I had never noticed this point until I read it in a critical essay, but there is a complete lack of communication between Buddha and Candida. Most people possess a moral sense and are capable of reflecting on their actions and reforming themselves. However, a person as wicked as Candida lacks such moral awareness and therefore is unlikely to engage in genuine self-reflection. If that is the case, he would require more guidance and instruction. Yet, Buddha merely lowers the spider thread and offers no guidance at all. In that case, Was there ever any real possibility for Canada to escape hell? Canada is portrayed as exceptional evil, and it is to imagine that many other sinners might have been more deserving of salvation. Yet, the text says nothing about what Buddha thinks of those who return to hell with him. He shows no sign of concern for them. Why? Even Tanjiro from Demon Slayer often shows compassion towards his enemies and demons. We need to ask both Buddha and Orisha about their silence. Several interpretations are possible. First, the story may imply a form of collective responsibility. Second, Buddha's sorrow over them is too obvious to state explicitly, which is plausible if we regard him as a supreme being. However, it is also possible that Buddha simply did not care about them. While this view may seem strange, the repeated use of Brahma casts doubt on whether Akutagawa intended to depict Buddha as truly supreme. Returning to sentence 43, the original describes that Buddha, though wearing a sad face, resumed his aimless walk. This suggests that he helped Canada out of curiosity or a passing whim, which makes him appear heartless. In contrast, the Ukrainian translation presents Buddha as sorrowfully departing and strengthening the story's moral and didactic tone. It is just my guess, but perhaps the translator, having interpreted the story as a Buddhist moral tale, found Buddha difficult to render literary and chose it literally instead. This issue is particularly interesting to me. I once read about an old professor who wrote when he was in elementary school that Buddha is irresponsible or cruel, and he was harshly scolded by his teacher. The teacher seems to assume that since Buddha is a supreme being and Akutagawa is a great writer, the text could not possibly undermine Buddha's authority. Such an assumption may be acceptable for young students, but as readers mature, should we not be free to question it?
А лотосу до всього байдуже. Його білий, як перлина, цвіт похитував вінчиками коло ніг Будди, а золотисті тичинки сповнювали повітря невимовно приємними пахощами. У раю бралося до полудня.
The author contrasts Canada's dramatic change with the unchanged stability of nature. Since the lotus is a symbol of the noble spirit that is not tainted by baseness, it is indifferent to someone as completely wicked as Canada. The lotus, the spider thread after it has snapped, and Buddha, they all depict a noble spirit. Because of that, it seems natural that they do not concern themselves with base beings. Yet, depending on how one looks at it, their indifference may seem cold, even heartless, given that Canada and many other sinners ended up returning to hell. Please see Maxic on the slide. Since the spider thread was published in a magazine for children, one would naturally expect a work characterized by clarity and sound moral teaching. Given the extensive use of Buddhist imagery, many readers likely receive the story as a Buddhist moral tale intended to teach wholesome ethics. However, if you read Akutagawa's text itself with care, it may become clear that there are many points that do not fit so neatly into such a straightforward interpretation. These points can be understood as questions that the author poses to the reader, inviting reflection. While acknowledging a work's weaknesses, we should aim to discover as many of its merits as possible, as well as the traces of the author's efforts. Scholarly studies can be helpful in developing such an appropriate way of reading. At the same time, we must not become absorbed solely in secondary literature. Ultimately, it is essential to return to the original text itself. And we should not concentrate merely in finding faults. Speaking from some self-reflection, I can say no work is ever perfect, and simply pointing out weaknesses is not so difficult. Rather, it is important to discover the merits of the work. I hope that teachers will help students become thoughtful and discerning readers. Dziękuję za uwagę. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your lecture.
Ivan, thank you very much.
Dear Mr. Sakamoto, thank you so much for your wonderful lecture. Thank you for sharing your interpretations. And I think we have had good impressions from your lectures, from your lecture. Thank you. And now I would like to give the floor to the artist Sergei Yaroshenko. He will say a few words about his illustrations for Akutagava's work. After Sergei Yaroshenko's speech, students will be able to ask questions to Mr. Sakamoto. Будь ласка, Сергій Миколайович.
Добрий день, шановний містер Сакамото, шановна Оксана Борисівна, шановна Ольга Миколаївна, шановні студенти. Я дуже вдячний за запрошення на цю чудову лекцію. Особливо вдячний професору Ользі Ніколенко і містеру Сакамото за те, що спонукали мене долучитися до малювання, до ілюстрації новели Акутагави і до того, щоб я намалював малюнки. Також я особливо дякую містеру Сакамото за глибоку лекцію. Це дало мені можливість осмислити спадщину цього великого письменника. Я хотів показати на своїх малюнках саме те, що кожна людина, чи вона погана, чи вона хороша, вона завжди має шанс почати нове життя. Але для цього шансу вона повинна не покладатися на Бога чи на Будду, а саме багато працювати, докладати багато зусиль. Якщо ми не будемо працювати, то у нас нічого не вийде, ми нічого не зможемо досягти. Ще мені сподобалась ідея японського письменника про лотос, як про шлях до зростання. Лотос росте в глибині озера, але він тягнеться до світла, до сонця, так як людина повинна тягнутися до світла, до чогось кращого в житті. Ми можемо народитися чи жити в поганих умовах, але якщо в нас є це прагнення до вдосконалення, то ми будемо рости духовно та розвиватися. Ще раз хочу подякувати містеру Сакамото за неперевершену лекцію, наповнену роздумами і питаннями. Дякую всім за увагу до моїх малюнків. Бажаю студентам духовно рости, розвиватися інтелектуально і досягти кращого, красивого життя. Дякую.
Dear Mr. Sakamoto-san, dear Oksana Borisovna, dear Olga Mykolaievna, dear students, I am very happy and grateful that you invited me to this wonderful lecture. I'm especially grateful to Professor Nikolenko and Mr. Sakamoto-san for encouraging me to draw illustrations for Akutagava's short story, The Spider's Thread. And I'm also grateful to Mr. Sakamoto for his profound lecture. It gave me the opportunity to creatively reflect on the legacy of the great writer Akutagawa. I wanted to show in my illustrations that every person, good or bad, always has a chance to start a new life. But to get that chance, they shouldn't just rely on God or Buddha, they should also work hard and put in the effort. If we don't work and if we don't put in the effort, we won't get anywhere in life, and we won't be able to achieve anything. I also liked the Japanese writer's idea of the lotus as a path to growth. The lotus grows in the depths of a lake, but it reaches for light, for the sun. And so should people reach for the light, for something better in their lives. We may be born in poor conditions, but if we have this desire to improve ourselves, we will grow and develop spiritually. Once again, I would like to thank Mr. Sakamoto-san for his excellent lecture, filled with reflections and questions, and thank you all for your attention to my drawings. I wish the students spiritual growth, intellectual development, and a better, more beautiful life. Thank you.
Thank you, Сергій Миколайович. Thank you, Katerina Sergeyevna. Dear students, you have the opportunity to express your reflections or ask questions to Mr. Sakamoto, please. And Professor, too. Dasha?
Hello, my name is Dasha and I'm third-year student. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be participants of this lecture. It was really interesting to listening about. I'm really thankful for your deep research in this topic because it was really interesting to found out something new about this novel. And my question is, what message is the author trying to deliver to the human nature?
Thank you for the question. Very, very good question. Yeah. So I believe that that the theme of this short novel is the ugliness of selflessness. Akutagawa chose this theme many times. Please read his famous other works such as Rashomon, The Nose, etc. He discussed the theme of selfishness many times.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Hi, Mr. Sakamoto. My name is Mariana. I thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. And my question is, what do you think? Is this story considered religious or rather moral, philosophical?
Thank you for the question. It is also a very good question. Well, it's just my personal opinion, but I think that it is rather a moral philosophical story. Researchers have pointed out that Akutagawa knew little about Buddhist basic doctrine. Please see my appendix 2 of the script. However, I believe that it is still possible to interpret the story as a Buddhist model. But I'm inclined to say that this work will be rather more philosophical than Buddhist tale, religious tale.
Okay,
Is it
thank you
okay?
for your answer.
І я коротко перекладу питання і відповіді для наших гостей. Було питання про те, яка ідея закладена в цьому творі. Ну і, власне, головна ідея Акутагави, на думку пана Сакамото, це потворність егоїзму. Акутагава багато звертався до теми егоїзму в своїх творах, і ми можемо це прослідкувати в багатьох його роботах. І також цікаве питання, чи це твір більш релігійний, чи морально-філософський. Ну, пан Сакамото переконаний, що все-таки більш моральний, хоча автор спирається на буддийську доктрину. Дякую. Please, go ahead with your question.
Hello, Mr. Sakamoto. My name is Anna. Thank you for interesting and engaging in presentation.
And my question is this story connected with Buddhist ideas and about karma and salvation?
Oh, yeah. If you mean the idea that bad deeds will bring bad results, I believe yes.
Thank you.
Мгм. Чи пов'язаний цей твір з буддистськими ідеями про карму і спасіння? Ну, відповідь така: якщо ви маєте на увазі, що погані дії призведуть до поганих наслідків, то так. Please.
Hi, Mr. Sakamoto.
Mhm.
My name is Katerina. Thank you
Mhm.
for your insightful lecture on spider thread. Your explanation of Akutagawa's philosophical ideas and cultural context helped me understand and the story of a much deeper level. And I have a question. Does Akutagawa present Kandata as a truly evil or as a complex human character capable of change?
Thank you for the question. It is a very, very good question. Many researchers have been discussing this theme, this question. Yes. So, my opinion is that Buddha had a hope that Kandata would change his mindset, but he didn't. Buddha's hope was betrayed by his Kandata's egoism, but all human beings possess such egoism. So, as to your question, please have your own conclusion. It's a very difficult question.
Thank you.
Питання, чи дійсно злий кандата, чи він складна людина, яка може змінитися. Це складне питання, і автор запрошує читачів подумати над ним самостійно, зробити свої висновки. I would like to invite our participants online to take the floor. So Renata, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Renata. I'm really grateful for such a performance and I'm really grateful for your thought-provoking questions. So really thanks a lot. I have a question for you. Do you really think that Kandata deserve the chance, the second chance?
Yes. Well, I feel that he's a very evil person, and he saved Spider, that's Mary out from his passing whim. So I feel that he does not deserve a second salvation.
Mhm.
But it's just my personal opinion. So please have your own conclusion.
Okay, thank you.
Так, питання, чи заслуговує Кандата на другий шанс? Кандата дійсно врятував павучка, але це була лише його примха, тому, можливо, він і не заслуговує на спасіння душі і на те, щоб потрапити в рай. Lisa, please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sakamoto, for your insightful lecture. And I'm truly appreciate that you introduced us to Rюноске Akutagawa and his short story. And it was very interesting and informative to learn more about the author and the cultural background of the story. And I have a question for you. In your opinion, would the ending have changed if Kandata had remained silent instead of shouting at other sinners and simply continued climbing?
Yes, I think so. Yes, I think yes. What do you think?
I think the same. I think if he would stay silent, he wouldn't fall and he would lose his chance to go to the heaven. So yeah, that's my. Thank you for your opinion.
Yeah. Yes, there are many difficult, difficult and difficult sections in this novel. Like as I have said, Buddha's silence. Buddha is silent about those who fell into hell with Kanda.
Так, чи змінилася б кінцівка твору, якби Кандата не закричав? Напевно, так, але в цій новелі багато складних запитань, і Будда нічого нам не каже про тих грішників, які дерлися до раю вслід за Кандатою. Тому ми можемо над цим порозмислити. Have we got any more questions?
Добрий день, шановні колеги, шановні студенти, шановні друзі. Передусім щиро дякую за організацію цієї прекрасної лекції, шановні наші професорці, завідувачці кафедри Ользі Миколаївні. Я завідувачка кафедри української мови Світлана Петченко і дякую нашому вельмишановному лекторові за прекрасне представлення проблеми, порушеної в обговорюваному творі. І я передусім більше не запитання, а свою рефлексію хочу висловити. Бо поняття раю і пекла ми сьогодні все одно накладаємо на нашу, і екстраполюємо на нашу дійсність. І чи достойний той, хто все життя чинив злочини, а в нашому житті ми розуміємо, про які ми злочини зараз говоримо, чи достойний він того раю? Ну, нам вдається сьогодні, що недостойний. І та нитка, яка так дуже тонко тримає рай і пекло між собою, так, вона тут порвалася, мабуть, не дарма зараз, тому що і в тексті в цьому вона не дарма обірвалася, бо справжні злочинці, воєнні злочинці мають бути в пеклі. А ті, хто заслуговують на рай, це наші оборонці, це захисники нашої країни сьогодні. І я дуже дякую, щиро дякую нашим японським друзям, що вони поруч з нами у цій боротьбі, що вони підтримують нас і словом, і ділом, і справою, що вони підтримують наш факультет. Щиро дякую, вельмишановний пане лекторе, вельмишановний пане Сергію за постійну підтримку, усім, хто є в цьому залі.
Yes. I would like to thank everyone who joined our event today. I am grateful to Professor V.G. Korolenka for the organization of this lecture. I am the chair of Ukrainian Language Department at our faculty, Svetlana Petchenko, and I would like to offer you my reflection on your lecture. Of course, when we hear about heaven and hell, we extrapolate these terms on our today's reality. Right now, there are people committing horrific crimes against Ukrainians, against our people. And do these people who have been committing so many crimes, do these people really deserve to go to heaven? I don't think so. I think people who deserve to go to heaven are our defenders, our soldiers, people who keep supporting Ukraine. And I am very grateful to our Japanese friends and colleagues for their ongoing support of our country, our students, our university. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for offering your kind words and your guidance. Thank you, dear Mr. Sakamoto-san, for your profound lecture and for your insights. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Шановні гості, шановні студенти, шановний професор Сакамото, я ще раз хочу подякувати вам за ту цікаву лекцію, той глибокий аналіз, який ми сьогодні прослухали разом з нашими студентами. Хочу вам ще раз подякувати за велику і відчутну підтримку нас, як українського народу, нашу націю, нашу країну. І я впевнена в тому, що завжди у будь-яких оповідях, в будь-яких ситуаціях завжди добро перевагає над злом. Тому ми маємо надію, що і в нашій країні переможе добро і переможе наша українська нація. Дякую. Дякую ще раз за допомогу, підтримку, розуміння, і ми відчуваємо завжди вашу силу перед нами. Дякую.
Thank you, dear guests, dear students. Thank you, dear Mr. Sakamoto-san, for your insightful lecture and for your deep analysis. Thank you for the great support of our country and our nation. And I believe that in every situation, the good will defeat all evil. And I hope that in our country, the forces of good will triumph and that we will be victorious. Thank you so much for your kindness, for your understanding, for your support. Thank you.
Анна, ви скажете нам пару слів? Анна Войтюк, художниця зі Львова, і ми бачимо тут її роботи на виставці екслібрісів в нашому науково-просвітницькому центрі Музей Гоголя Україна, є її роботи. Будь ласка, пару слів.
Dear Mr. Sakamoto, thank you so much for your lecture, for your explanations. It was very great. Thank you so much. And I have one small question to the end. What do you think? Is there was even was a small possibility of Kandata and other sinners to be saved at all, or there wasn't a possibility? Thank you so much.
I believe there was a possibility that he will be saved, but because of his selfishness, he received his punishment. But if he had changed his mind, it was possible. There was still possibility that he will be saved. That's my question. That's my answer.
Thank you so much.
Катерина?
Так, питання, чи могла би бути хоча б маленька можливість, щоб кандидат був врятований? Можливо, але оскільки він був егоїстом, то він отримав своє покарання. Якби він змінився і виріс над собою, над своїми гріхами, то, можливо, він мав би шанс на спасіння.
Thank you. I would like to thank Mr. Sakamoto again on behalf of the professors and students. We really appreciate your attention to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian language, to Ukrainian art and literature. It is important for us to know that Japan supports Ukraine, that we are not alone with our troubles and trials. Thank you very much for the wonderful lecture. I hope that it will inspire our students to read more books in foreign languages, in particular Akutagawa. Thank you very much. I hope that we will be able to see you again and hear your excellent lectures. Thank you all participants. Thank you. Our lecture is over. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.